the line I'm speaking about is these two right here. As you can see, are already in the truck, brand new. Your fuel bowl will obviously be sitting right here. Those are the two return lines. Another way to determine them is the two on the driver's side. This is a simpler way. Basically, it runs down right here in between your alternator bracket, which will be in the way. And it's also your power steering pump bracket. And if you look underneath here, let's see, where are they at? Kind of hard to see with this stuff in the way. They drop down just kind of in between your oil cooler. They just drop straight down and plug into those braided lines. I gotta separate those and plug in that other one all the way. And what those braided lines do is run up and onto the top of your frame rail here and plug in here. And I can't really get you a good look, but in front of that they also plug in. So those are, you know, the different ways to runs all the way back to the tank from there. So yeah, how do you take it off without, you know, going through a bunch of hassle? I already threw mine away. I would have got y'all a better video if I planned on doing this video, but I didn't. This alternator bracket has 4 bolts. There's going to be, obviously, you take off your alternator. It's these 2 right here. And that one will be right there. Make sure you take off your electrical connection. Pull that. Then you would need to take out the 13 millimeters. They're kind of a bitch to see. One there. There's one at the bottom. Down here. That's very hidden, which is like right next to the pulley. You can kind of feel for it. And then there's one just kind of like right there. I'm trying to point at it. And there's 4 basically is what I'm trying to get at. And it's at the front of the engine. You can find them very easily. You take all 4 of those out completely and you just slide this out of your way to the right. Keep all this connected. I pulled this return, which just sits on top right here of your power steering pump. It's a little clamp right there. Super easy to take care of. I'd recommend y'all do the same thing. Slide this as far as you can to the right where this is scraping up against your intercooler pipe. My nice Mishimoto pipes are all busted up already. Anyway, once that's slid over, you'll get a lot better access to seeing down in here. You don't need to pull off this pulley. You don't need to remove any of those lines on the back side of this pump. This is all you need. You just need this and a tool to cut them. What I did was I cut them just like right here on both sides, and then I cut them down at the bottom. I did not cut the plastic or the metal tab that welds the two together. Down here, there's a 13 millimeter on the bottom. You don't have to cut it. I didn't cut mine. Everyone that I saw, you know, mentioned cutting it. There it is right there. That metal tab is still on there. Once you pull that bracket out of the way far enough, it's pretty simple to just kind of show you with my hands. The brackets here, the blocks here, that tab, you just kind of rotate at the bottom of the line and twist that tab to where it'll be perfectly flush. And there's just enough space between the oil cooler. We'll just drop straight down without any really large resistance. I didn't have to fight it too much, and it'll drop down. The old one I pulled out from the top by just kind of getting some pliers down underneath there behind that alternator bracket, pulling up and trying to get the lines from where they're at now to behind the bracket. That's where you're trying to wiggle and free them up to get them to, while you're also pulling up. It'll free up, get you to about this point. Then you need to rotate and pull. I have this S&B intake. If you have a stock intake, which will have a box like right here somewhere, you will have to pull that box. I didn't, because I had this intake and I cut them. You can cut the tab if it's really giving you fits. I don't really recommend it. You don't have to. So yeah, that's how I got those lines dropped down in there. You don't have to do anything else. That is all you have to do, is just take off the 4 bolts for your alternator bracket, after you remove your alternator, take off that return line, slide it over, cut the top of your lines where they bend really hard, try to get your lines as straight as possible, and then drop them down. All right, so just so we're clear, old lines are in there. You're gonna pull those out and towards the battery. After you do that, what you're gonna do is drop these new lines in from the top the same way. So pull the old ones out and drop the new ones in from the top. Don't do it at the bottom. This bracket, when you slide these over like that, is where you're going to need to be when you're pulling it out. You need to be as far over this way behind this bracket as possible. That's going to create the most amount of space down underneath for you to operate. And then you can cut them here. That's what I did. So that way we're clear. That's how I got this situated. Just got to bolt the alternator bracket back up, drop the fuel bowl in, put everything together, and I will have a running truck, hopefully. We'll have some updates for y'all later in a different video. But yeah, so there you guys go.